Emerald Amethyst. I almost put those together.
Emerald this.
Emerald.
Yeah, an interesting matchup here between Mo and Humza. We've seen Mo earlier in the day playing Emerald Amethyst as well. Typically, a deck that can play pretty quickly. I know that he was playing cards like Go-Go Tamago that ended up, I think it was that match that did pretty well, ended up gaining 4 lore off of a Maui Half Shark or something when it entered play. And so we see this same matchup here where Humza is playing Ruby Sapphire. We've seen plenty of Ruby Sapphire this weekend, but in case you've missed all of that, you know, a more control version of a deck looking to ramp on turn 2, playing towards the late game. But
yeah, we see Mo's up a game. I think this is a matchup that can be traditionally pretty tough for Ruby Sapphire. I mean, obviously depends how the Emerald Amethyst deck is built, but if it has a lot of those, you know, cheap, more aggressive cards, I mean, it is a hard matchup. Generally, Ruby Sapphire does struggle towards most hyper aggressive or more aggressively oriented decks, but things like the Cursed Merfolk, they've been hard to deal with since they came out, and they still are today.
yeah, all the Cursed Merfolk and even just the normal Amethyst 1-drops, anything that has 2 lore on it, essentially, that you can get away with questing for the first couple turns with Ruby Sapphire, because I mean, Ruby Sapphire typically doesn't ever play a 1-cost character, usually looking for cards like Pawpsicle, and then on turn 2, if you are playing a character, it's usually a card like Tipo that only has 1 strength, so you know, maybe you can banish something like a Diablo or a Cursed Merfolk, but if Mo's able to find something like a 1-drop on turn 1, double 1-drop on turn 2, even if he's on the draw, can be too much pressure for something like Ruby Sapphire to come back from.
It does look like Mo's going to be on the play, so that means that
I think
Oh.
Humza just missed a 1-drop.
Got it. I didn't see him put that card down. I thought he was still altering his hand. So that is in the favor of Ruby Sapphire. You know, maybe lost on the draw versus a more aggressive oriented deck, but now on the play, I mean, Ruby Sapphire is so much more powerful on the play against these more aggressive oriented strategies, because I mean, you're getting to your answers like a whole turn earlier, and it can be incredibly impactful.
And we do see Humza does find that turn 2 ramp. See how he has right C, lets him ink an extra card for the turn. Now he's up at 3 ink. We come back to Mo. We do see he has multiple 1-drops in hand. Going to go ahead and ink the Chernobog's followers, and we're going to play out that Cursed Merfolk and a Diablo, choosing not to banish the Magic Broom here when we play characters.
Hamza's access to the Queen of Hearts, which is surely a tech card, is definitely not made into every Ruby Sapphire list, but is probably going to be impactful in this matchup. Finds a brawl off the top as well.
I think it's especially important for matchups like this, where you need to get characters out onto the board, banishing your opponent's characters. Humza has the opportunity to play it here. We could rush into the Magic Broom, banishing it, and then the Queen of Hearts would still have, or would only take 1 damage, so we could use it to challenge and banish another card.
Yeah, so we could prevent the draw off the Broom and then maybe brawl on the next turn, or maybe we can brawl this turn.
We don't have many inkable cards in hand either. The only other inkable card looks like it might be a Hiram. It's definitely something you don't want to ink, so Humza may be considering here, do we want to miss an ink on this turn and or ink the brawl, I guess, and play the Queen of Hearts, or use the brawl instead? It looks like we're going for the Queen of Heart play.
I mean, to be fair, I'm kind of happy to lose the Lucky Dime to the Cursed Merfolk here, if you do end up drawing it, which it like Humza has in hand. Not happy, but I mean,
it's not the worst thing. Like, if there's anything you're going to discard in your deck, I think Lucky Dime's one of the things you're not too upset to discard, just because you can get it back later with Tamatoa, right?
You're probably not slamming that as soon as you hit 7 ink.
Yeah. That's going to be quite a far ways off, but we are going to go back to Mo here, choosing to ink a Diablo. We have a Madam Fox we can play, picking up the Diablo, putting it back to hand. Fox is going to go ahead and banish this Queen of Hearts, so the Queen of Hearts can't banish this Cursed Merfolk. Just going to be gaining 2 lore every turn that it stays in play, essentially.
Going to go ahead and ink that Tamatoa, and assuming you're going to see the How Far I'll Go come down.
Yeah, I mean, I think Humza's only goal right now is to, as quickly as possible, get to 7 or 8 ink. We know he has the big Sisu in hand, can be used to get himself back into this game, but he needs to find a way to stabilize. That's going to be through something like a board wipe.
So next turn is going to be Hiram plus a Queen of Hearts, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
Still, we're going to see Mo gain a decent amount of lore here.
Yeah, with nothing in play, Mo can pretty safely quest for 2 and or 3, excuse me, with the Madam Fox. Take it back to Mo, draw for turn. We find a Pegasus, an evasive character we could play. We also have Goat in hand if we wanted to ink
Yep. Also, I do believe have the Merlin Rabbit as well, in case you want to get a little bit more card advantage or
The
get a
Genie also, that would be pretty good.
Forgot about the new Rabbit.
Yeah, something interesting too, you know, if you're playing against specifically a Ruby or rubies across the table, you know, do you play the Rabbit or the Genie expecting a brawl to come down? Would you rather the Rabbit be banished or the Genie?
Well, it's an interesting question. Yeah. So we're also going into, but like Madame Medusa already has a target, kind of. Of course, Merfolk. I mean, it's honestly a really interesting question. So I think we're gonna run into that. That Merfolk here. We're gonna discard a Tipo.
Tipo. Don't really need to be inking extra cards from our hand anymore. Already up to 7 ink at the end of this turn for Humza. So next turn, if Mo overextends with characters less than 2 strength, we should have that Sisu that we can play.
That is going to have the Lucky Dime. I know we were sort of talking that card down, but if it does hit the field, I mean, Mo's gotta do.
We gotta go fast. Is what
Yeah, I was gonna say gotta do something about it, but he can't.
Gonna have to just race Humza at that point.
Which, I mean, that's congruent with Mo's sort of fundamental strategy here anyway.
Yeah, doesn't really change his game plan any, honestly. We are gonna see the Goat interplay. Mo's gonna gain a lore when it enters play. We'll find that Diablo being played as well. That was bounced back to the hand a little earlier. Mo just doing what Amethyst Emerald does, questing out, gaining extra lore, getting as close to 20 as he can.
So is he keeping the Genie back because of the ACOS Sisu?
I think so. I think we're predicting the Sisu to come down. Partially why we probably played the Diablo. You know, it's kind of a non-committal thing. If it survives on the next turn, you can quest with it. If it gets banished, you get to draw a card. You know, it just replaces itself. And of course, the Goat won't be banished if we see the Sisu come down, which we do here.
I mean, high-level play, we watched Mo sort of perfectly hedge against a ACOS Sisu coming down on curve here.
Yeah, I mean, both characters are banished, and then he just draws 2 cards. They just immediately replace themselves. So good for Humza to at least get lore off of the board, but Mo's going to have plenty of gas in hand to follow this up. You see a Prince Philip being drawn as well, a card that you don't usually see in Amethyst Emerald, some that I've seen a little. I love this card, though. It's I think it's a 3-cost, 3/2 with Ward, though. Ward being the keyword there that is important, so it can't be targeted by anything.
That is exactly what it is, yep.
See the Crab come down, boosting the Goat enough to challenge the Hiram, getting it off the board. Prince Philip followed after that.
Pawpsicles got a filter, big filter here, and quite find it. Of course, you know, 2 Sisus on board is pretty menacing. Both 5/4s, both questing for 3. But 2 items in the form of Pawpsicle and Ice Block. Not too exciting as you face down a lot of aggression here on the side of Mo.
No, Ice Block can potentially help the Sisu in hand get a little bit of value, but Prince Philip can't be chosen with the Ice Block because of Ward. Mo's also playing around the Sisu, right, by playing these higher strength characters like Crab, Goat, and Prince Philip.
Yeah, it's been really holding back that Genie. So is Humza just thinking, that makes sense, right? Like, okay, you're going to have quest for 6 or whatever if you leave it on, but you're not the beatdown here. You got to keep Mo in control.
Yeah, the longer that Humza can keep Mo from getting within, I'd say roughly 5 lore of 20, up to 15, the better for you, especially if you can find something like a Pirate's Life, which is typically run in these Ruby Sapphire decks now. Sort of moving further away from 20, but we do find the Snake here, so we can bounce back to hand and replay the Prince Philip, readying it so that it can't be banished in a challenge. Gonna make it difficult to get rid of since it also has Ward and can't be chosen.
Does find a Brawl, has access to Ice Block. Fortunately, everything is 3 strength right now.
And even the stuff that's in play that you can brawl isn't great brawl targets. You know, there are only 1 lore characters, but at 14 lore, I guess that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Humza does look very, very far behind here. I mean, that being said, if he was able to get control of this board, he could pivot quite quickly, having access to the Sisu as well as the Lucky Dime in hand.
We are going to see the Sisu played using the Ice Block to reduce the Snake strength, banishing it when Sisu's played, using the other Sisu to challenge and banish the Crab, just getting as much lore off the board as possible, trying to extend the game.
Mo knows the secret. See him rub those cards as they come off the top. That actually strictly makes them better.
Ursula is going to let Mo get a good look at Humza's hand, so he now knows about the brawl and the lucky dime. Can play around both of those. We see a Sir Hiss in hand, an evasive character that can quest for 2, I think.
I mean, when do you just have to play out the genie and draw the card?
1 for the Sir Hiss. Questing for 2 with the Phillip here.
Up to 16. Threatening up to 18 on the next turn.
At that point, all we need is a goat. What did Humza draw there? Oh, a Goofy. We see an unequal 6-cost Goofy with Rush that has evasive. We're going to use that to challenge and banish the Prince Phillip here, getting it off the board, not having to use our Sisu.
Super impactful, but we are closing in on GOAT range. That being said, Humza could pivot pretty quickly as access to Lucky Dime is questing for 4 at the very least every turn. Feels like it's actually not going to... I think it's not enough on the side of Humza, actually.
Fox isn't that bad here.
Fox is pretty good.
Letting us bounce a card and replay it.
Absolutely, and make him have the board wipe.
Looks like Mo might be considering the Genie play. Yeah, we're going to play the Genie draw card, rubbing every single one of those things that come off the top of the deck.
I watched his previous match. He was doing the same thing. You got to save it for, when you need it.
Working out pretty well for Mo here.
Up to 18, threatening game here.
Humza needs a board wipe either through Sisu or Be Prepared at this point, I think.
Feels like it's got to be.
Well, actually... Oh, yeah, we can only challenge 2 characters and we have to get rid of both Genie and Sisu. We have the Brawl, find an Ice Block. That's not going to help us.
I mean, we could have found like a Pirate's Life or something, I guess. I mean, I think we're once again seeing some of the weaknesses of this Ruby Sapphire deck.
Humza playing out the turn, banishing the Sir Hiss with the Goofy, banishing the Ursula, leaving Mo with 1 lore.
Going to go up to 19 on this next turn.
Extending the turn by 1.
Just give me the goat.
Oh, he only finds the Pegasus, no goat here.
I mean, it's pretty good. Because now he's going to still just basically have to find the board wipe. Going to bounce that Hiss, play it again.
We have an evasive character in play that we could have challenged Sir Hiss with. Can't do that anymore now. Humza, I think, has 1 last turn to find an answer.
Time for Humza to rub the card.
Yeah, Humza needs a little bit of the luck. He needs the luck for a couple turns, to be fair. Because even if we banish this board, you're going to have to essentially answer every single thing that comes into play for the next couple turns unless we can find a couple Pirates' lives to get this lore count.
You have it. It's another lucky dime.
Another lucky dime is not going to do it. Humza gives out the handshake, and Mo takes round 6 2-0.